Now, we know that, obviously our demographic shift will happen, and around 70% of the senior living projects we know are concentrated in the South. And this demographic shift, the age-restricted community catering to the older adults, certain design features have to be kept in mind to make the project qualify for the senior living project.
Property rights of women in India, married or unmarried, are governed by the laws applicable to their respective religious faiths. While provisions of the Hindu Succession Act apply to unmarried Hindus, Jain, Sikh and Buddhist women, the Indian Succession Act applies to unmarried Christian and Parsi women. Unmarried Muslim women can claim their rights under the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act of 1937. Hello everyone. Namaskar, Salaam, Akal, Vanakkam. We're back with a fresh episode of Keeping It Real by Housing.com. This is India's first real estate focused podcast. It brings to you updates, views and insights about the realty sector, an explainer on a chosen subject, and a deep dive into an industry, trend or topic. Bengaluru is mulling underground tunnels to solve the city's traffic woes. Major developers are venturing into the senior segment and partnering with healthcare providers to develop flexible and adaptable projects in India. And what are the property rights of an unmarried woman? Details of all these and much more in this episode. Stay tuned. Bengaluru is mulling underground tunnels to solve the city's traffic woes, Development Minister and Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar said after meeting several business leaders recently. The meeting was attended by 42 industry leaders across several sectors like the Kirloskar Group and Biocon, and city-based developers like Brigade Group, Prestige Group and Bagmane Developers. Quote, the business leaders suggested several solutions like tunnels and elevated roads. Several companies have promised to invest for such solutions and work will be undertaken in a private-public partnership, unquote. Shivakumar told reporters after the meeting on June 17. The minister added that a committee will be formed after the second round of discussion to look at the solutions and to develop a blueprint. Quote, our website will also be made available to citizens to submit their suggestions for building a better Bengaluru, unquote, he said. The proposed tunnel will span across the city's length with inspiration from Singapore and London-based models. The meeting also spoke about the completion of the pending works of the NICE road or the Bengaluru-Mysuru infrastructure corridors and satellite towns surrounding the main city. Experts say the city requires a Metropolitan Planning Committee as mandated by the 74th Amendment in the Constitution. There is a need to shift people away from private vehicles with an integrated public transport system. Globally, senior living has emerged as a strong residential segment, especially in Western countries that have older population profiles and a nuclear way of living. The concept, however, remains unexplored in developing countries such as India and China due to the attached stigma on account of the cultural ethos and prevalence of multi-generational and joint households. However, the demography is steadily shifting towards older population cohorts in developing and least developed countries. In India, for instance, the number of people aged 60 years and above is expected to increase to 320 million from the current 139 million in the next 3 decades. As the interest in senior living as a viable housing option is rising, major developers are venturing into the segment and partnering with healthcare providers to develop flexible and adaptable projects in India. Taking cognizance of the thrust to senior living on the back of changing socio-economic patterns and demographics, the Government of India has also come up with a policy framework to streamline the design, stakeholder engagement and healthcare provisions for this segment. As per research by Housing.com, a majority 70% of the senior living projects are located in southern India, in cities such as Bengaluru, Chennai, Coimbatore and Kochi, owing to higher number of citizens settling abroad, thus making senior living a beneficial option for the elder members of the families. In comparison, the territory remains largely uncharted in other regions of India, such as North or West. Senior living residences and retirement communities focused company Primus is looking to add 2,000 units to its senior living residences as it enters the Mumbai market. The entry into the MMR, the Mumbai metropolitan region, makes it the fourth metropolis after Bengaluru, Chennai and Pune. In 2021, Max India's subsidiary Antara Senior Care announced an investment of Rs 300 crore aiming to ramp up senior care facilities in the country. The company's two residential projects established in Dehradun and Noida have witnessed huge interest among buyers. Columbia Pacific Communities CPC and the Embassy Group will jointly invest Rs 165 crore to develop 2.44 acres of senior living community space in Bengaluru. The project, which is a 50-50 joint venture between both companies, is expected to be completed by December 2026. We spoke to Ankita Sood, Head of Research at Housing.com, PropTiger.com and Makan.com to help us understand this. Listen in. Hello and a warm welcome, Ankita. Delighted to have you on the show.
Happy to be here, Gaurav.
Ankita, we have noticed a lot of interest in senior living projects in the recent past. What is a senior living project and how is it different from the other residential real estate projects?
Right. So, of course, senior living in India definitely is at a very nascent stage. And there are a few things which do separate the senior living residential projects from the conventional, property markets. Now, if I get into, the definition of it per se, then a senior living project is a type of a residential development that is specifically designed to cater to the needs of the adults or the senior citizens, their preferences. It offers a range of amenities, services, facilities that are tailored right at the time of the conceptualization of the project to support an active and independent lifestyle of the senior citizens. Now, we know that, obviously our demographic shift will happen, and around 70% of the senior living projects we know are concentrated in the South. And this demographic shift, the age-restricted community catering to the older adults, tailored amenities, services, the needs and preferences, all these are segregating or do segregate the senior living projects from the mainstay real estate projects. Now, to back up this, even policy initiatives have been taken that right at the start, the design features, certain design features have to be kept in mind to make the project qualify for the senior living project. And of course, it is different. Services and amenities are specifically different. Design is different. And, of course, the sale models are also different.
Ankita, what are the trends that you're spotting so far as the geographical distribution of senior living projects in India? Do you see any concentration in one particular region? And is India ready for it?
So definitely, senior living in India has been present for over a decade now. But the country has been relatively slow in adopting it due to, various societal stigmas and cultural beliefs surrounding abandonment. Now, it is to be very, very specific that when we are talking of the senior living projects, these are not projects, that cater out of emerge out of abandonment. These are real estate projects which offer amenities and facilities for thriving senior citizens. Around 70%, Gaurav, of our senior living projects in India are concentrated in the southern cities, what you asked. Bengaluru, Chennai, Kochi, Coimbatore, all of these are leading cities where most of the senior citizen specific societies have come up, followed by a few in the west and north. Now, only the south because of, the NRI concept there, and of course, very upwardly mobile and its population and the acceptance of the fact that, yes, it is a senior citizen friendly society, and it doesn't cater out of, come out of a social stigma. So I think the South has been much more, open towards this form of real estate. It's a very niche real estate segment.
The other question is about supply trends and also the operating business models. What are the kind of sentiments or trends, and what are the business models that are beginning to emerge in this segment? More importantly, can you tell us how well this has been performing?
So, if I talk in terms of sentiments, like I said, senior living in India has been there for a decade. And of course, the few projects, because it's a very niche segment, the few projects which have come about are doing pretty well. They come in the form of assisted living or, just the thriving communities. So some of the projects which have been there, so if I talk about the supply side, very few projects have come about, but the ones which they have done pretty well. If I talk in terms of supply, so most of, the living condos fall within the price bracket of less than 45 lakh as well. And the configuration would range somewhere around a 2 to 3 BHK. Now, majority of the projects which give further benefits and amenities also are upwards of 1 CR, in terms of 3 and 4 BHK villas as well. And if you ask me in terms of sentiments, though being a decade old, senior living has definitely caught up, especially post the pandemic, where more and more need was realized for proximity to healthcare infrastructure. So here are these projects which offer right in terms of, right from design to, the overall community living to the things like doctor on call, which is quite basic. So all of these communities are providing for those facilities, and post pandemic, that shift definitely has been seen in this segment. So supply definitely, even if it's less, has been taken up, and the response, especially in South and a few projects in North, has been good because it's a very niche segment. And sentiments definitely have been improving. There's no stigma attached to, going about a senior citizen friendly project. If I talk in terms of models, then, the main ones are outright purchase or ownership model. That is one where the home buyer can directly purchase the apartment from the developer. It's as much as a normal real estate project. Another is a lease rental model where the tenant can secure the apartment via the lease from the developer for a particular agreed period on mutually agreed terms. So, and one is the reverse mortgage, where the tenants can lease the apartment from the developer on mutually agreed terms for, again, an agreed period. Now, 60% of the senior living projects in India are through outright sale model, and only 27% are through the lease model. So outright purchase and ownership model definitely becomes the most sought after model for senior living projects in India.
Thank you, Ankita, for these deep insights and perspectives. Always a delight to host you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Thanks for having me.
What are the property rights of an unmarried woman? Property rights of women in India, married or unmarried, are governed by the laws applicable to their respective religious faiths. While provisions of the Hindu Succession Act apply to unmarried Hindus, Jain, Sikh and Buddhist women, the Indian Succession Act applies to unmarried Christian and Parsi women. Unmarried Muslim women can claim their rights under the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act of 1937. So what are the property rights of unmarried Hindu, Sikh, Jain and Buddhist women? An amendment to the Hindu Succession Act on September 9, 2005 brought daughters in power with sons. Hence, an unmarried woman enjoys co-possessory rights, a legal right in the ancestral property of her parents. An unmarried woman has the right to ask for property partition and claim her shares. It, however, begs a mention here that this is only applicable in the case of ancestral property. In parents' self-acquired property, an unmarried woman can claim her share only after their demise and only if the parents have not left a will. In the case of a will, giving their self-acquired property to someone else, the unmarried daughter cannot challenge the will except on certain legal grounds. The parents are free to leave the share in the ancestral property to anyone they want through a will. Rules of the Hindu Succession Act would apply only if there is no will. Property right of unmarried Muslim women. Under the Muslim Personal Law Shariat Application Act 1937, an unmarried daughter will receive half of the share of a son. In other words, the property share of men is double the share of women. A simple way to understand this would be, suppose a couple with one son and one daughter has three properties of the same value, equal on all parameters. In the case of their demise, the son would inherit two out of the three properties. Unlike Hindu law, the parents of an unmarried Muslim woman are not legally allowed to confer their entire property through a will, restricting it to only 1/3 of the property. What about property rights of an unmarried Christian or Parsi women? The succession of unmarried Christian and Parsi women is governed under Section 31 to 49 Christian and Sections 50 to 56 Parsis of the Indian Succession Act. Under the provisions, an unmarried Christian woman inherits an equal share of her parents' property as the brother. In case the father dies without leaving a will, 1/3 of the property would go to the widow, while the remaining 2/3 go to his children, son and daughter. The same is true in case of an unmarried Parsi woman. But what about property rights of women in a live-in relationship? Even though the law in India acknowledges live-in relationships and guarantees them certain rights, women in such relationships are not entitled to the properties owned by her partner. This is because live-in partners do not fall within the ambit of Class 1 or Class 2 heirs under the Hindu Succession Act. That's it from us for this episode. We shall be back again with a fresh episode of Keeping It Real by Housing.com with information and insights on the real estate industry. You can catch the episode on Housing.com, on the Housing.com app, on earshot.in, Spotify.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Ghana.com, and JioSaavn. Take care and stay safe.